Okay, cool.
going on. And if they say that they have something going on, they're lying. And that is in the recording. Hello, everybody. My guest this evening is Hannah Murphy. If you are on Instagram, you know who she is, but I'm sure a lot of people know you that aren't on Instagram as well. She is a wonderful guitar player from the New York area. She's got quite a bit of fans on the interwebs, and we're going to talk about that and all sorts of other cool things that she's got going. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah. We were just talking about, before I hit the record button, our funny stories about meeting some of our heroes. I'll start off with a story and then I want to hear you talk. My hero is Oscar Galia. He's like, which I
Really?
know, yeah, because your teacher studied with him.
Yeah.
And is that a good? Oh, really?
No, it's just like surprising. I don't know why.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't play like him. I wish I could, but I just love him.
Amazing, but
I guess it's because I had my wife's grandfather is from Italy, and he was basically my grandfather for a long time, and he was angry all the time. So I guess I'm used to. So whenever I see Oscar, I'm like, I know what that is. But
you relate to him somehow.
I relate to him like on a familial level. We
Okay.
went out to dinner after one of his master classes that I observed, and I was like, I love your recording of the homage to Debussy. And like you could see him, like he looked off, and like within a second he had the score in his head, and he's like, Defia said the minor six is the interval of death. And I was like, wow. And he's like, fa mi. It goes from fa mi. And I was like, yeah, you're right. He's like, do you know how many times fa mi is in that piece? And I go, no.
Are you supposed to know?
And he goes, of course you don't, because you don't sing it right.
No.
And then my teacher Chris Ladd in the background was like, that's him. Like,
Oh, he called you out.
Yeah. But I also, if I had just started singing, I think he would have been like watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake. But I love him.
Yeah, that's amazing. I actually have never met him.
Really?
Yeah.
Your
No,
teacher. Go ahead.
No, I don't think I have. But Michael Newman, my teacher at Manus, studied with him, so I've heard a lot about him. But
did he study with him at one of the festivals, or was he there for a long time? Because I know he did the Siena, right? He did the thing in Siena.
I'm not exactly sure how long he studied with him, but he had a lot of stories about him, so I assume it was a good amount of time.
Yeah. So you studied with Michael Newman for your master's. Did you? And that was at Manus?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where did you do your undergrad?
I did my undergrad at Rowan University, which is in South Jersey.
Oh, cool. But are you from the city originally?
I'm from South Jersey, actually. So Rowan was like really close to where I grew up. It was like,
that's how you know John.
Yes.
You're both Jersey girls.
Yeah.
We could just talk crap about John the whole time.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that. No.
Yeah. So, we were talking about some people that come to the instrument having played guitar, or other instruments, or this and that. Why don't we? Because I'd love to get to who you are today, but I want to do it in a very comprehensive way. So, how did you get into classical guitar?
Well, I actually, maybe this is a weird way to get into it, but I started on classical guitar. I wanted to play in like the band at my school. Like, when you're in I think it's like fourth grade, you get to pick an instrument and be in the band. I really wanted to be in the band. I wanted to play trombone really bad. But to be in band in my school, you had to skip math class once a week. And I was really bad at math. And my parents were like, no, you can't skip math once a week. So they said, you can't skip math once a week to do band, but we can get you lessons outside of school. After school, you can take lessons at the lesson studios. And then at that point, now every instrument is open to me. So it wasn't just like the band instruments. So my uncle had guitars, and he lent me, it was like a half-size classical guitar. So I came into this lesson studio, and my lessons were on this little classical guitar, and my teacher was studying for a classical degree. So I had a classical teacher, and I didn't even like know what kind of music I like. I wasn't like into rock music yet or anything like that. I was like,
Right. You were just playing guitar is what you were
yeah.
doing. You were
So
playing
I was
guitar.
playing like I was learning how to read music. I was playing Carcassi studies, like stuff like that.
I like how you were like trombone and then you changed your mind. You weren't like you didn't go into the music store and you were like, no, trombone is still
Yeah, I don't know. I can't
this is
remember like
hot.
what my thought process was. Yeah. But like,
um,
thank God I didn't do trombone. That would be so weird.
maybe you probably have more work because
I feel like you know what? I did do trumpet in college, and I could not get a sound out of the mouthpiece. So I probably would have quit really fast if I did trombone.
I did my undergrad in music ed and you should have seen
Mhm.
us in our methods classes. It was rough. It was
What did
rough.
you take? Which methods? Did you do French horn? Because that one killed me.
I didn't. Brass method. The brass instruments was the only methods class I didn't take. So I took upper strings, lower strings. I took woodwinds. I took percussion. I took vocal. So I took 5 methods classes in
Okay.
addition to being proficient at the piano. And just we were. I mean, I just had a friend and we were just making jokes the whole time. Like we would make sure we signed up for the same.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because like a lot of like percussion students would be in the percussion methods to like assist, and we were
Okay.
just like throwing the sticks up, being complete pieces of garbage. So what was your degree in? Was it in music?
Yeah, so I went to Rowan University for actually originally went for music education.
Oh, cool.
You know, when I was in, so I started playing guitar in middle school, and then when I went into like after that I started getting into like electric guitar. I got an electric guitar, that was fun, and a steel string guitar. And but I always like had classical as well. And when I was in high school, I had this really great guitar class, and we did like half classical and half jazz. And I really like related to the classical, I guess because I already played it.
Hmm.
And jazz really scared me with the improvising because I'm really really shy. So like every time I had to improvise like in front of the class, like I just like fall apart. So like the classical
It's all about attitude. You just have to go like this.
probably also when I was like 16, like who in that class like knew anything about improvising. So I'm
Nobody.
probably better than anybody else. Like,
Yeah.
but the classical like really like called to me. So my dream job was like to be like the guitar teacher in that high school because that was like my favorite thing. I would go to like after
Yeah.
school guitar classes. I would go during lunch and practice, like that kind of thing. So that was like my dream job. And I went to college at Rowan University. They have a really good music education program.
Hmm.
But I quickly, like in 2 years, I realized that first of all, music education is not just playing guitar. I had to
Correct.
learn all those instruments, all everything, all those like brass instruments and everything, and I had to do lesson plans galore.
You know, I don't know. It's not like that. So like when I was finishing up my degree, I was like, I don't think I can do this, but that's not like
Well,
that. It's
the
like
problem,
they make you go through the ringer so that you can say you can do it, but it's really not like that.
well, the
Thank
problem
God.
that I had was I was doing like, okay, so you probably maybe your school was similar if you did music education, but like I had to pick either instrumental education or
Hmm.
vocal education.
Yeah.
So if you're in instrumental, you have to be in the band, and if you're vocal, you have to be in the chorus. So I was in chorus, so I was doing vocal education. So I was learning how to like conduct like choirs and things, and like
Yeah.
I don't, I'm
Same.
not a, yeah, and I just like hated, like I was thinking if I graduate, I'm gonna have to like conduct a choir, and I really want to like be in a guitar class, like that's what I want to do. And I started realizing that high schools don't have guitar classes. Like
No.
that was lucky that I was in that high school for some reason. So I
Absolutely.
was like,
Absolutely.
I went and I was looking around. I was like, nobody has that. So I don't think that job actually exists.
It actually, so two interesting things. First, I have spent a lot of time thinking about this, and it's because we play such um, a frowned upon instrument with good
Mhm.
reason. I mean, there's a lot of reason to mistrust guitar players. Um, but, and then also, um, in some of the states that aren't New York or Connecticut, they do, I think John may have told me, maybe it was a John, it was somebody else. If it wasn't John, uh, said that some high schools will do like competitive classical guitar programs akin to marching band, which
Hmm.
is I've never heard of that. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's so my teacher Chris told me that I think he said in Virginia they do that. And then I think I was talking to John about another one, but the point is that there are those programs in small in small pockets of the United States.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I had that same process,
Mhm.
but I just kept going
Sure.
because I was older. I finished my undergrad at like 26 or 27.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
No, it's
Um,
not. It's not. It's not cool. It's
that's
terrible.
cool.
So you finish, you decide that you don't want to do music ed. I'm guessing you switch to a BA in music or something like
Yeah, a
that.
performance degree. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Um,
what was that like doing performance or doing sort of the non-music ed thing at a school that was kind of known for the music ed?
yeah. So yeah, the school was definitely known for the music ed because like we had, the teacher there was the founder of Music Together. Like it was like a big deal there. And I just was like, actually, it wasn't just that it wasn't just that I didn't want to do this whole like world thing. I was like, the teacher there, oh man, she didn't really like, some people. And I was kind of like a slacker a little bit, like, I'll admit it. And
Yeah,
if you,
same.
if she sensed any bit of slacking, she would do her best to get you out of the program. So I was in a position where I could retake a year of teaching and learning communities where I was like going to schools and teaching in like public schools, or I could just drop it. So
The slacker in you was like,
like, oh, okay, I can just drop this. Like, let's do that. I'm not gonna redo this class. Like, please. It was like a thing where I had a lot of juries that were due in one day, and she needed the final, and I was like 2 hours late on my final submission. So she gave me a C, and if you got a C in music ed, that was not passing, which was like crazy to me because in high school I was like straight C's. So it was just like, yeah. So anyway, I switched to performance, but that wasn't easier because there was a lot more guitar practice because as soon as I switched to performance, I had to do a junior recital because now I'm a
yeah.
junior. So it wasn't like easier.
Okay. So
So
you go from doing something as a like music ed and guitar to all of a sudden you got to get your stuff in gear pretty quick.
yeah, because when you're music ed, you do a senior recital, but if you're a performance, you do a junior and a senior recital. And I was already a junior by the time I switched, so I was like, well, if I want to switch, I got to get my butt in gear to do this like whole solo recital. So it was a lot of work.
What did you play?
Oh God, I definitely played Capriccio Arabe, Julia Florida, which I haven't played recently, but I've played last year.
Yeah.
I kept that one, and some like little Giuliani pieces, some little Tarraga pieces to go with Capriccio Arabe, like some of the mazurka and something else.
I never played any of the Tarraga stuff in my official studies, but then after grad school, I looked at the preludes and they're like beautiful. They're like really great pieces. Easy.
Yeah. I thought they were kind of lame when I was an undergrad, like it's like a prelude.
This isn't Leanda.
You know what I'm talking about.
This isn't anything. This isn't the prelude in D minor by Bach.
Yeah, exactly.
So so you do that. I'm guessing the next 2 years are uneventful. No drama free music school. And then you finish and then you go to grad school. And this is a great question that I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's an opportunity to ask a great question that a lot of people that I talk to seem to all have the same situation. You go to school at a place that gives you a pretty good education in classical guitar, but then you focus and you go to a conservatory and you go to a place where, in most cases, the requirements are much higher. The expectation, the standards are higher. It's a lot less, general education and more, I got to practice X amount of hours a day. I got to get my ass kicked X amount of times in a week. So what was that? I want you to tell me what it was like in your master's, but what was the transition like?
The transition as in like when I first got there and like how I had to adapt.
Yeah. Or like how it was, the expectations in your undergrad versus grad.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I think that I decided to go to a conservatory just because of, I wanted that, obviously, like exactly what you said, the expectations of the music being higher, and like I didn't like taking, like I was still a slacker, so I didn't like taking classes I didn't want to take, like English classes and writing classes and math classes. I remember I had to take math classes a couple
I don't know
times
what that
and
is.
failing them. Yeah, I failed my math classes, so like just like not having to take
Which
those
math class did you fail? I failed one too.
intro to geometry.
Oh, I failed stats. Oh, you're making me feel better about myself. I didn't
Yeah.
go to the final, is what happened. I had a D in the class, and I didn't want to ask the teacher what I had to do to pass the class because she would just say,
Okay.
figure it out on yourself, by yourself. And so I didn't go to the final. And that's the only F I've ever seen on a transcript.
Wow. And did you have to retake it the next semester?
Oh, yeah.
That's the
It was
worst, though.
embarrassing.
Yeah. I forget how I did that, but yeah, I had to retake math class. I think I didn't take geometry again because for some reason geometry doesn't like really make sense in my brain.
I mean, they say music, it sounds like we're similar. They say music and math are similar, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
It's not helping me.
it's
So
not. Yeah.
what was it like when you started your master's?
Yeah, so I liked not taking those kinds of classes, just taking music classes and taking my lessons really seriously. And the thing that was crazy to me were the music classes were much more difficult too. I had to like audition or like, you know, audition to be in one of the theory classes, or I guess to make sure you don't have to take remedial theory, which I did. I took, 4 years of theory in my undergraduate. I had to take remedial theory at Manus.
Mm.
Just to relearn all the stuff and just, which was good because it was very difficult theory. We had to do Schenkerian analysis in my second year, things like that. So I'm glad that I wasn't complaining about taking remedial theory, but like my theory at the other school wasn't as intense.
I had a similar experience. We didn't do anything post. We didn't do like any atonal stuff, any post tonal stuff in my undergrad, and then it like showed up on the entrance exam, and I just remember like trying to do it because I was pretty good at theory. I could kind of figure it out,
Yeah.
but that didn't happen. Thank God. I don't know where this came from, but I've never had to really work too hard in an ear training class. It just
Oh
comes
yeah.
really naturally to me, and I've always been good with it. So
Hmm.
even going into the placement exam, I didn't have to take any of those. But the history,
Yeah.
definitely,
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
theory. So what was the guitar instruction like? Because this is where things really start to change for us.
Yeah. The guitar instruction was different. It was actually, when I was in my undergrad, it was a lot like, actually, I was really, really fortunate in my undergrad because my teachers, Joe Mays and Kathleen Mays, they're married and they both taught at the school. But Joe Mays was a full-time professor, so he had like office hours, and
Oh,
you know, it was such a nice community because like all the guitar students would just hang out in this one hallway where his office was, and like you could go into his office and you know uh, say, can I borrow a CD, or do you want to read some duos? Or we would get lunch a couple times a week, and then every Wednesday after class we would go out for drinks. Like it was such a nice, like having him there like every day, Monday through Friday.
yeah.
um so the difference was then I got to New York at Manus, and my teacher's only there once a week, right? Like I don't see him that often. I mean, Michael is amazing in the way that he would always respond to like text messages. He's constantly in contact with you. Like you don't feel like you're missing out that way, but it's not the same to like just go into his office and be like, hey professor, do you want to grab lunch and talk about this random guitar thing while we're at
Right,
lunch?
right. The good guitar teachers, and I'd say maybe good professors in general, but it's definitely a music school thing, where there's, and I don't want it to make it sound like it's like crossing a boundary because it's not, but it's this really intimate in a good way
Mhm.
mentorship, where they take you under their wing because they know how excruciatingly difficult it can be and how much of yourself you have to put out there. So you're right, going out to lunch or going out for drinks or reading scores together. I mean, maybe for a psychology professor that would seem a little inappropriate, but for us it's a community because we know what it's like to put so much into it. What
Yeah.
was what was like something that you noticed and the education and the guitar and the way that you looked at the guitar that changed from undergrad to grad school. So I'll give you an example. For me, I really had to start breaking things down in detail. I had the same teacher in undergrad and grad school, but it's two different
Mhm.
schools. One was a state school for music ed, and then he left that post and went to the Hart School. And that's where everybody,
Teacher is
like,
Chris Love.
yeah, Chris Ladd. So Chris
Yeah.
Ladd was at a state school teaching adjunct,
Mhm.
but he was mostly at Hart, and then he stopped teaching at that school, went and was at Hart full time. So when I was at Hart, it was like everybody was like, I was like the top dog at Central Connecticut, and then I went to like the bottom of the barrel at Hart. So for me, what I noticed is like I got to go slow. I got to make sure my fingers are preparing. I have to make sure I'm releasing tension. I got to make sure that I'm singing. I have to make
Mhm.
sure that I'm going slow. So like, what were some of those things for you that you had to refine or work on?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I said, I've been playing guitar for a while, but I felt like I didn't really take it like really seriously, where I'm practicing consistently, and until like I was decided like I'm going to be a performance major. That was my junior year. So when I decided that, like I worked really hard on fixing technique, and Kathleen Mays worked so much with me on like fixing so many bad habits that I had, like really bad technique. So I felt like when I got to my master's degree, like it was so different. It wasn't like fixing technique. Like Michael wanted to talk about like singing lines and like doing solfege, like on all the voices. It was just not
Mm-hmm.
something I had done. I'd worked so hard to get like my technique like sounding good and my sound nice and this new
Yeah, this is
guitar.
this is a guitar lesson, right?
Yeah, yeah. He wouldn't even, he didn't have a guitar. He would just listen to me play and then have me sing something, and I felt like I had to play like, more advanced repertoire. So things like that. It was really different from being an undergraduate.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely like studio classes were a lot of singing and a lot of counting. And at first you're like, okay, I thought I was here to shred, but you realize that those are the steps that you have to take. What were
Right.
some of the, do you have any uh, memorable experiences there? People that you met, funny stories? I'm sure in New York, and especially at that school, you probably get a lot of the guitar celebrities coming through.
Yeah, we did. Well, I also would go to the Mana seminar every summer too.
Mm.
So the year before I started, I went to the seminar, and then every year I was there, and then every year since I graduated. So I've been going there for so long, and plus like all you know, the people that are just there at the school. We had we have Michael and Fred Hand is also there, and he's
Mm-hmm.
really sweet.
Yep.
So yeah, we've had like so many different artists come in, and it's really fortunate to
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I think you were talking before. I think we had this on recording. You were saying how you saw your high school teacher and you said, "Oh, I want to be like that." That was something that I definitely a fire that was lit in me when I was in grad school, just by seeing all these people come in. I mean, like I told you, Oscar is like one of my heroes, but like
Mhm.
Antigone is like disgusting. She's so good,
Yeah.
and just to see her work with someone in the way that they understand music, and like Jason and Scott and all those people, it's really something special.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like we've had I got to take master classes with like Ben Verdery,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, which is interesting because I actually the thing I loved about his master class was I think there were four of us that played, and he had
Was
us
he
all
wearing
play.
shoes?
I don't remember,
Okay,
which
continue.
maybe it was if I the thing I remembered the most was that he had the four of us play like back to back, and
Yeah.
then we did the classes after, which I thought was so nice because it was like you're playing a performance and then you come back to the class part, like
Yeah,
the
he's
performance at the
awesome.
beginning. And then I did a master class with Marcin Dila too, which was
Wow,
pretty amazing.
he's
That
so
was,
cool.
yeah.
He
And
was
then just all the people I've met there are just amazing too, obviously.
it's the guitar world is so cool. I love all those artists that you just named. I have yet to interview one of Ben Verdery's students yet. um, I this Friday I'm gonna do supposed to interview Rupert Boyd, who graduated Yale.
Cool.
But yeah, this is the very
That's
interesting.
a that's a that's a great player, but he seems really cool. Like I've actually like just randomly run into him in New York
Oh
once.
really?
It's really weird because I was just like walking in New York, and I think he had his head down, and I like I saw him, and it's like You know when you like were walking by
Yeah.
someone, you can't like not say something if you know
Yeah.
them. And I had met him a couple times, obviously. I know, like we all
Yeah.
know each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah.
obviously. And I was like, hey, and he was like, Hannah, what are you doing here? And I was like, I live right here. And he was like, oh, I'm going to teach a student. So it was just like
That's funny.
New York's weird like that.
We judged a competition together at Subculture,
Okay, yeah.
which is down on Bleecker Street, I think. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know New York too well, but we
Yeah.
did it. We did a competition there with Dave Veslocki. I don't know if you know him.
No.
He's a New York guy. He does a lot of like music production as well.
Oh wow. Cool.
Yeah, it's crazy how people are ever. Have you seen any like real celebrities
Like real, like outside of
Like Kevin Bacon or I don't know. I don't like Kevin Bacon.
um
Like
I've seen Fred Armisen.
oh,
Not that long ago, in January actually.
is he really short?
He's like maybe like my height. I'm 5'7", so he's
Oh,
like
okay.
he was like my height. So that's, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, I love him too. I was like shocked. I was down in the village, like I was in like a trendy area,
Of
getting
course,
my
that's
ears
where he
pierced.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's where I would go to like get my ears pierced or something, right? And I walk out of the piercing studio and he's like walking by me, and I was like, "What is happening?"
Was he like, "Hey, Hannah," and you were like, "Hey, Fred"? And he was
No.
like on his. I just imagine him like walking and just like scrolling his iPhone.
Well, he
I don't
had
know
like
why.
a hood up, and he had his head kind of down a little bit. Like
Oh wow.
it was early in the morning, so I went really early to like make sure I was, So he must have been like out on a walk or something. I don't know.
So you made it. Can I ask more about this? So you went early to get your ears pierced in the day?
Yeah. Yeah, I went. No, it was in January. I went really early because they fill up. The appointments fill up really fast. So you have to get there early.
Oh,
So
I see. I
it's like
see.
early in the morning. It was like 10 a.m. or something. I guess it's not that early, but it was like 10 a.m. And I walked out of the studio, and as soon as I like walked out of the studio onto the street, like Fred Armisen like walked right by me, and like the street wasn't very crowded because it was a weekend,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
10
No,
a.m.
I just thought like you woke up on a Saturday and you're like, you know what I want to. You said early, and I have a child, so early to me means like 6:30 or
Oh
5:30. So I thought you like woke up at like 7, and you were like, you know what I think I should do right now, and then like you're on the train, and it's
actually, it was kind of a spontaneous thing. I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna get my ears pierced today. It
wow,
was kind of fun.
wow.
The
So
days and before this whole thing where you could just do that.
oh my God. We live right across the street from this grocery store, and it's called Asia Grocery, and they have the most wonderful produce. Like you go to like a grocery store and like an avocado is like $1.25. Their
Oh,
avocado, and they're not even ripe. Their
no.
avocados across the street are like 50 cents, and you can eat
Wow.
them that day. And ever since, and so we wouldn't stock up on the food. I would just go across the street and buy whatever we needed and cook
Mhm.
it. Is literally across, literally a minute, 90-second walk, and so we can't do that anymore. So now
Oh,
we're you know
the
how
produce is closed. Is that what it is? The whole store is
the
closed.
store's closed. It's just a tiny store, so
Oh,
they're not open during this. How are you
man.
guys surviving the quarantine?
We're doing okay. I'm staying with my parents in Pennsylvania, which is like an hour and a half outside of the city,
Yeah,
for 2 more weeks. So until June 1st, I'm going back to Brooklyn. So
yeah.
maybe I'll see more celebrities. Probably not, actually.
No, they'll be hiding because they don't. They just have their assistants go and do everything.
Well, they're probably gonna. You would if you had another house, you wouldn't stay in New York, right? You would go to LA
Uh,
or somewhere.
yeah, I
Probably.
knew that. I knew
They
that.
probably have other. This is not their only residence, so.
Is it weird for you going from like Brooklyn, which is like super tight quarters and everyone's a hipster, to going to I don't know where you are in Pennsylvania, but is it weird going to like a place that's not like that?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it was good because it's just like we were stuck in our apartment for so long because my husband Phil has asthma, so we're like really worried about
Oh God,
catching
yeah,
coronavirus. So like we wouldn't leave our apartment, we get all our groceries delivered, and we would just
yeah.
stay in the apartment all the time. So it was like we wouldn't even go outside. So now
But then you guys were out in the woods today,
we were in the woods today. Like
which
we've been
doesn't
going to
sound
the
good
park.
for somebody with asthma.
Yeah, well, not as bad as coronavirus.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little more guitar. So you finished up your master's degree, and I really want to talk about before we. There's so much cool stuff to talk about with you, but let's talk about Instagram just for a little bit because
Sure.
it is a big part of of who you are as a personality, maybe not as a player, but as a personality, you have a lot of fans, a lot of followers. And as long as I've been on the classical guitar part of Instagram, I think I've always kind of known about you or followed you on one of my accounts.
Yeah.
So what was that like? I mean, as it is right now, there's like, I think you're up to 110,
Yeah.
109,000.
110 today.
Wow. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Most of those, judging by the comments, are like 50-year-old guys. Yeah, let's not go there.
We
There's
don't,
some,
we don't talk about that part.
so, no, sometimes I go through the comments and I'm like, oh, never mind. I think there's a lot when you have that many people, you get all sorts of
You just get
personalities.
all kinds. Yeah, definitely.
What what's that like for you to have a fan base that'll tune into a lot of the stuff that you post?
It's nice. Obviously, like we all would like, people to hear your music. You spend a lot of time practicing, but it's also very stressful because, you're now thinking like if I like I make a video and I listen to it a million times, then I show Phil like, does this sound good? And he'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, does it really sound good though? Like, should I post it? And he's like, sounds fine. And it's like, I'm posting it to 110,000 people. Like, does it sound good? It's very difficult to think about. It's a lot of pressure. And if it doesn't sound good, people will tell me. So
I like that you guys check in with each other, but I find it hard to believe that you're like, yeah, are you sure? Like, as if my wife was a musician, I feel like she would be like, did you sing the bass line? Did you hear that? Did you really hear C sharp go to D? Because it doesn't sound like you did. That's what she would say to me.
Well, it's kind of like that. I do like we go back and forth. He always gets annoyed with me because I'll be like, does it sound good? And he'll like, let me hear it. And they're like, yeah, it sounds good. It's like, that's all you have to say? It just sounds good? Like, is there anything, should I change something? Should I like redo this part? Is it clear? Like, does that one buzz note make sense? He goes, no, I didn't even notice that. And it's like, I need to know, like, and I'll say stuff like, well, just let me know because otherwise I'll just delete it and I'll make another video tomorrow. And he's like, no, just post this one. It sounds fine.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't even know why I ask,
Well, yeah. And so that's do you ever think about the kind of stuff that you're posting? Obviously, if you were to go post a picture of something political or something this or that, that would kind of, I could see that being something that you would worry about. But are you thinking, does that sort of influence any of the rep you play or any of the stuff that you practice that day?
You mean like personal things that I like?
Well, I guess like what I'm saying is that do you feel that it's I don't want it to sound so negative. Do you feel like it's a burden to have to worry about what you're going to share with people? Because in my opinion, I think, people like weird stuff, but like, I guess what I'm thinking is, do you ever feel like, oh, I shouldn't post the Usher waltz. I should post the intro to the first cello suite.
Right. Yeah, I do think a lot about like the repertoire I play, in a way that's like, first of all, since I started on Instagram when I was in school, so I've been thinking for a long time about what people like, and my following is 110,000 people, so they're not, probably most of those people aren't classical guitarists, or aren't even that familiar with classical guitar. So I always like to find things that would bring them in. So things that bring them in, Recuerdos de la Alhambra.
Right.
Pieces that are so overplayed to us classical guitarists, but for somebody who's never heard classical guitar before, they might be like, wow, how is she doing all those notes so fast? Like, what is that? Like, I want to know more about that. And then they start browsing more. They browse my page, they browse somebody else's page. Now they're into classical guitar. That's very cool to me. Usher Waltz is a great one for this because it's so like kind of rock like, you've got the drums.
Yeah.
And people can really relate to it. Like, people love that. I played it at a concert, and this guy was like, I could feel like prog rock like vibes from that. And I was like, okay, like that this guy who like likes rock music heard me play that piece and was like, yeah, I can relate to that piece. So I'm always thinking about that, but I also want to, it's like a balance. I also want to expand because, first of all, there's people like you who are very accomplished guitarists and very talented who are hearing me. So I don't want to only play, Recuerdos and the classics, because that would be really boring, because I'm not going to play it as good as Ex Aequo or whoever, whoever's recording you love.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm trying to find ways to keep it both way. And, I try to find music that's newer or not well known, like maybe like half and half. So like I'm playing this piece that's an homage to Bela Bartok by a woman composer from I think she's from like the 1940s when she was writing this. And that is something that most people aren't going to hear and go, ooh, like classical guitar, what's this? But like maybe somebody like who has a more refined taste might like it, or somebody who has been following me for a while and likes my Usher Waltz might go, ooh, what's this?
I don't have a refined taste. I like most of the New York Housewives singles.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Yeah, but continue.
So I'm just trying to like include everybody in it, and also expand people that are following me because they liked recuerdos. Like they saw me play recuerdos, they followed me. But now they're hearing something that's completely different, and maybe that opens up their musical taste a little bit. Yeah. But a lot of people have told me they hate it. Like I posted that piece and people say like, hey, you're a great player, but I hate this music. And that's okay.
The Usher Waltz?
No, this homage to Bartok.
Oh,
everyone loves that.
I don't know that. I don't know that piece, but I was gonna say whatever that piece is, it gets a lot weirder. Have you ever heard Shard by Elliot Carter?
Yeah.
I sight read. We cite. It was terrible. One of my classes for guitar literature, we sight read that.
Oh my God.
That's something. I mean, poorly, but
you did it.
But we did. We played the notes. Tried to. I would imagine posting something like that on Instagram. But then again, someone like what's his name? Ginger. Marco Topchi.
Oh yeah.
When he had an Instagram, he would post some videos of like Fuoco or some crazy Brower stuff. And then you're right, a lot of people, but most of his followers were other guitarists.
They're already guitarists. Yeah. You're following him because you're a guitarist and you already know who he is.
Yeah.
Where people, for me, I think find me because they see me on the Explore page and it's like, there's somebody playing guitar, like click it.
Yeah. Have you had anybody ever pick up guitar because of you?
People have told me that they did, or like I inspired them to play guitar, which I think is really cool. Actually, I've heard every time I hear somebody say that, I get like so excited. That's like the nicest.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really
like
cool.
That's compliment.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know when it was, maybe 6 months ago or so. Your videos went. I mean, it was great before, but I feel like you stepped everything up. I don't remember when it was, but it was just all the shots were a lot clearer, all the audio was a lot clearer. So
thank you. I'm always trying to do better that way too. Like obviously improve my playing, but also like improve the quality of the content is important to me.
So that's awesome. And I think what you're doing is great. And let's move away from Instagram, but Instagram allowed you to sort of open up this new chapter of social connectivity, which couldn't have come at a better time when we can't do anything. We can't play concerts. We can't book concerts. We can't go to master classes.
Yeah.
And this is, you told me, I wrote this phonetically. This is Ex Aequo.
You got it. Yeah.
You say it right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's weird to say it's like Latin or something, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, math.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. So why don't you tell me a little bit about this?
Well, first of all, Ex Aequo means I guess it means equally placed, in it's Latin for that, and it's a term that they use in competitions, but not just music competitions, but like sports competitions where you have like 2 first places. So we kind of think like artists aren't really placed in like all of the art, like every artist has strengths and different strengths from each other. So we thought like we're going to have this team of artists that work together to promote guitar and promote education and expand the audience. And all of the artists on our roster just bring something different to the table as an artist.
Sure. You have a lot of people, some people on there that I've seen, but they're not all like, they're not just, social media celebrities or whatever. I don't know. I
Right.
don't know what other. There's Evan. There's you, right? There's Evan.
Yeah, Evan. And so me and Evan and Phil are kind of started it from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Wow. Here
We
comes
had the
trouble.
ideas. Yeah. And, Evan has a really nice Instagram following as well. And he is really, really smart with all this kind of stuff, this
Yeah.
businessy stuff and this
Yeah.
social media things. So that was really great. But the other artists bring other things to the table that aren't necessarily social media. We have artists that are winning competitions,
Mm-hmm.
artists that aren't winning competitions, artists that are touring, artists that are teaching at colleges that have doctorates, artists that are focusing on new music, things
Yeah.
like that. Like it's all over the place.
And it's not just the competition too. Am I correct?
Yeah, so we did the competition as just an event that we were running, and we wanted to bring something to, because of this time, everybody is in quarantine, obviously. We had competitions that were canceled. Obviously, everything's been canceled. So we were thinking, like, how can we bring something to people that were going to go to a competition and now the competition's canceled?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Phil was signed up to do a bunch of competitions and we had to like cancel flights and all that stuff. I'm sure many people were in that position and it's really difficult. So how can we do this? And then when we started thinking of how can we make this competition for people to, first of all, motivate and then possibly win some money and prizes
Right.
for
Right.
hard work, but also like, how can we make it different from other competitions?
Yeah.
So our big thing was the thing that we were the most proud of, I think that was really cool, was we had 4 Ex Aequo prize winners. So
Oh, cool.
instead of saying like here's a first place, second, third, fourth, all 4 of them were just equally, because when you go to like a competition finals and you see the 4 finalists and they play in the finals and then you
It's
think,
4
oh,
different
that,
things.
yeah, all those, like that guy's gonna get first, this guy's gonna get second, and you guess and you know all that, and then you're completely wrong. The judges pick something else. Like there's no way to really rank like who's the first, who's the winner.
I've heard some stories about like I was saying, some of those after party stories about people judging competitions and being really frustrated about how it goes about. Is it a point system? Is it do you vote on the person? What is it? And you're right. Sometimes what people vote for is so counterintuitive, and sometimes it makes sense, in retrospect, and then sometimes it's a pile of garbage.
Yeah. Like
So
how do you
but that's
crazy
wonderful
rate?
though that you guys are doing that. So other than the competition, what else would this community provide? Like if I was to go on the website right now, which I did earlier but didn't take any notes because that's how it is.
I'll tell you all about it. You don't have to be on the website.
Please.
So the first thing that we did when we actually started this, to be clear, like before this whole coronavirus thing hit. So Phil, Evan, and I had this idea like over 6 months ago, and we were talking about like what we can do with this and how we can get artists involved in the communities and things like that. And then when we were kind of like dragging our feet a little bit, we had the nonprofit status, but we didn't launch anything yet. And Evan was rightfully like, we need to launch when it's like the perfect time, because we don't want it to flop. Like it has to be really big when we launch. So
Evan's like the mastermind with like a hood on, and he's like,
yeah,
not
basically,
yet, not
yeah.
yet, children.
Well, actually, okay, here's what happens. Phil has an idea, which is like completely wild, like completely like, how would you do anything with this idea? And I go, I don't know about that. Like maybe we could do this or something. And then we call Evan, and Evan goes like, what? And he like reins it into like an idea that can actually be like managed.
Yeah.
So that's like, it's actually a really great dynamic that we have.
I'm probably more like Phil, because there's times when I have these really wild ideas. I'll be like, cats have fingernails. They could probably do tremolo, right?
Oh.
And people will be like, no, you can't do that. You can't give students your credit card. Like, all sorts of weird ideas. But that's cool. That's good. You're the level-headed one. And Evan is like, I'm going to put this into practice.
Right.
So you guys launch, and what's tell me more about it.
Yeah, so the first thing we did when we launched was we had an online guitar festival. And I was pretty proud of this because this was when like things first started shutting down. Like this was like March, like early, like mid-March or something. And we did, all of our artists gave a master class. So on Instagram Live, you know, you can have like go live with somebody. So like somebody, like I think Evan did the first one. He would go live on the Ex Aequo account, and then the person that's taking the master class would join his live video, and they would play something, and then Evan would, or then all the artists did it eventually, but would give feedback, like a master class. And then it's free for everyone to watch. It was free to be in the class. And we were like, you know, this is the first thing we ever did. So we had no idea how many people would join or if anyone would want to do a master class on Instagram Live.
Right.
But we had like 3 times as many submissions as we had spots. So it ended up being like pretty successful.
That's
and
awesome.
Then, yeah, it was exciting. And it was pretty cool to do a master class live because even if you weren't taking the class, you could get something out of it.
And if you were playing, if I was teaching a master class online and I didn't know the piece, I could just go like Command Tab right there and just Google it and like just be listening to John Williams in this year.
Exactly. Actually, we had the students send their scores ahead of time.
That's smart. That's, you know, yeah.
Because you know what? We only had 15 minutes. We wanted to do an hour live stream with 4 people in the class. We had 15 minutes for each. It was like a mini master class. So I wanted everyone to have the teachers to have the music and just get as much done in 15 minutes as possible.
What's the goal for this going forward? Maybe not concerning the quarantine, just what's the goal now, right?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of over the quarantine thing. So like
oh yeah, me too. Well, it's fake news. I mean, it's not real.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's not actually happening.
Oh my God, somebody on Facebook shared this meme and it said, for your conspiracy theory friends, change your Wi-Fi network name to
5G something.
5G Bill Gates test tower.
I'm gonna do that now.
I shouldn't be saying this. Your followers are gonna get so upset. I'm kidding.
No, my followers are very intelligent and don't believe.
Of course. 5G. Yeah, no, they won't. No, it's my followers.
Yeah, I'm over the whole thing. So we did a lot of online things. Like we did this whole masterclasses. We did concert series. We did the competition, which was gigantic. So I would like to move to the online or the offline things that we had, which I hope that the world is moving to soon if everything goes accordingly, but obviously not too soon. But I guess we would like to do things where we bring guitar to communities that don't have it. Like if we could bring these master classes that we taught for free, like could we teach them at a place that doesn't have access to master classes? Or like you could have David Russell come or something, or Jason Vio come to this master class, but they're very expensive. So you could, instead of them, get like us who are like, you know, millennial guitarists who are pretty good, maybe not as good as those guys, but they're free. So we're a nonprofit, so that's why we could do that stuff.
Yeah. Just speaking about how good Jason Vio is, the first time I saw him in concert, you have to imagine this is, take what he's saying with a grain of salt, but he on the program, the first piece was the Sora Mozart variations, and he comes out and plays the Grand Overture, and then after my teacher was like, oh wow, so you decided to do that? He's like, yeah, I've been playing it more recently. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay, great.
Just swap that out in the last 5 minutes.
Actually, playing this one today. Like, I've been working really hard on that piece recently. It's really
yeah. You know what I really like about this idea is that there's, there's such this old world, not everybody, but in the classical guitar community, there's this old world idea of doing things. And sometimes it's really helpful. And then sometimes you like the idea of having one winner when you have 4 really artistic performances and especially when it's like one piece, right? And you can talk about notes and accuracy and what's written on the score. But then sometimes if you just have 2 really good understandings of the piece, I don't know, like the Prelude, Fugue, and Allegro. John Williams plays it great. Oscar Gillia plays it great. They both play it wonderful. I like one of them better than the other. But why would you give an award to one and not to somebody else?
Like someone wins more money because it doesn't.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool that you're sort of challenging that idea. And then also you were saying going to a place that doesn't have the same access. I think that's great too, because I think one of the big things that makes classical guitar so unappealing to some people is how inaccessible it is. And I don't just mean in like tangibility, but like, I hope that's a word. But just, you know, understanding the music, right?
Yeah.
Trying to understand who the music is by and who it's for. But you're right, if you go to a place that doesn't typically have this, like a school or a community, and offer something pretty amazing, I mean, I think that's wonderful. I don't see why people wouldn't welcome that with open arms.
Yeah, so we just got to find like donors and things. Maybe apply for grants to do these things, but it's something we're excited to do. It'd be
If
nice.
you guys ever come up to well, if we go back to school,
Hmm.
and you guys ever come up to Windsor, Connecticut, I'll see if I can get you guys in my middle high school.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about, because we need like we need an expanded audience for guitar. We don't even necessarily need more people like being professional guitarists. We need like people that like appreciate enough to maybe practice it and maybe play some pieces and take some lessons and go to concerts. Like
Mhm.
it just needs to be more accessible in that way. Like the knowledge needs to be more accessible, I think.
Absolutely.
Because already the materials are pretty cheap, right? Like you just need a guitar and a footstool or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, C40 is the way to go.
Yeah.
Footstool, just don't get addicted to all of those little gadgets and gizmos that we have.
Right.
Uh, where is it? Do I have? No, I don't even have it down here. Are those magnet supports? They
Oh
cost like
yeah, the city.
$150 each.
They are.
Thanks, man. I have like two of them.
Do you use those? I actually like real like I don't want to. I like using my footstool for performing, but for teaching, like I really want one of those. But I'm not sure that I want to spend that much just for like my teaching one. So I use
Yeah.
a suction cup one now, and I hate it, but I don't know.
So the magnet one is really good. Honestly, it's the best support I've ever used was the Murata. Do you know that one? The with the claw?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The one that you have to like
Hmm.
crank onto the hold on.
If this is the one I think you're talking about,
Like
I
the
hate
the
those.
the side of my guitar is like chewed up from years of using it. And for me it was perfect.
I hate those.
I was never able to get the guitar in that same position with a footstool or with the magnet support. The
Hmm.
footstool, you can't see it here because I'm wearing black. I'm a little chubby, and the footstool, my leg being up, like kills my back after an hour and a half, so I can't use that. And
Yeah.
then, so I ended up using the magnet support. I like it, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. I would invest, especially if you have to raise it up higher. I would invest in the longer version. It's more money, but it's really well made.
Oh, okay. They look. I mean, they are really well made, and I love the magnets on them and everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff. Well, we're heading toward the wrap up portion of this. So
Wow.
what I want to do is I want to ask you a questionnaire
Okay.
that I developed. The fifth question is has been changing around quite a bit, has been moving around. So I'm not sure. I'm going to try out a fifth question. There's five questions. The
Okay.
fifth one I'm subbing out, and I'm throwing something else in there. I think you're going to like it. But the first four will be smooth sailing. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Hannah Murphy, what is the best gig or performance you've had?
Ooh. The best performance, I think. Wow, I feel like I'd have to think about that for a second.
Because they're all so damn good, is what you're
I
going
feel
to
like I
say.
just love performing. I feel really lucky to perform every time I can. So there's that. I guess like I don't know, like every time I play to like a really, really appreciative audience afterwards, you know.
Mm.
Um, I played this concert in Italy when I was doing the Lanciano guitar seminar, and I played Recuerdos de la Ombra, and this woman in the audience was like, it seems like really dramatic and like Italian, but she was like bawling. She just loved it so much.
And you were there, you're like, don't mess up, don't mess up.
I didn't know that she was until afterwards because Phil told me. He took a video of it.
Oh
I
my
was just
God.
like, wow.
That's
And the
hilarious.
people just like loved it. They just loved Recuerdos. And it was just
Yeah.
like so sweet. Like anytime, like it doesn't matter like necessarily where it is or like what the concert is, but anytime someone comes up to me, they just love it that much. Like that's just amazing.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Italian people are nuts. I'm half.
Not so
I'm half.
cute.
What is the absolute worst performance or worst gig that you want to share?
Worst
Maybe a
game.
funny story, maybe a sad story.
A sad story. Okay.
Anything.
Okay, it's not like that bad because the concert went really well, but the preparation for the concert was awful. I was going to play, actually I live in Brooklyn, I was going to play a concert in Poughkeepsie. You know the difference between that? It's like, that's not that far. It's up in New York.
Couple hours.
Yeah, yeah. So Phil and I were going to drive up there, and we rented a car. Well, we rented online, and then we went to the car rental place, which was all the way up by LaGuardia. It's like just annoying to get to because I live in Brooklyn, and then the LaGuardia is at the top of Queens, so that's the cheapest rental place in New York. So I was gonna rent my car there and drive up to Poughkeepsie, and we get there, and they're like, "Well, you didn't book enough in time, so you need to use a credit card." And I was like, "I don't have a credit card." Like, I don't have a credit card because nobody would give me a credit card because, like, my student debt is like crazy. Like, there's no way like anyone in their right mind would give me a credit card.
I play classical guitar.
Yeah, like I don't have a credit. I'm like, I don't have a credit card. I really need to rent a car. And she said, "You can't rent a car without a credit card." And I was just like, "Is there anything I can do to get a car? I'm at this place. Like, I have a concert. Like, is there anything I can do to get a car right now to go?" And she was just like, "No." So it was too late to take a train now. The concert's in a few hours, and Phil's like, "You're gonna have to just tell them it's called off." And I was like, "I can't cancel a concert like 2 hours before I'm supposed to be there."
I'm freaking out.
That's the most unprofessional thing I can do. I'm stuck in Queens. So I booked a $250 Uber. What was I gonna do?
Yeah, no, that's the right thing. I'm shocked, but that is the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Right.
and the concert was fine. You know, it went well. And I mean, and then I took a train home, which was like $30. But I got paid the minimal amount for that whole experience. But like,
my God,
it was either that or cancel the concert, which felt
a terrible person. Yeah. No, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Adventures. All right. Question number 3. What is the best piece of advice and who gave it to you?
Best piece of advice. Wow. That's like a really hard question. Yeah. So I've gotten a lot of good advice, I feel like.
We can come back to it if you want.
Well, okay, so I guess like the best, but I can't remember exactly what he said. But when I was in my undergraduate, Joe Mays was saying like you should only plan on being a guitarist as a career if you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. If you can imagine yourself doing something else, do that. Even if it's a little bit, like, do that. And I really felt like it stuck with me because it was like, I really thought, like, can I do something else? And it's just like, no, and that kind of keeps me going with it. Like, what else would I do? You know, I like teaching. I like playing. That's really what I want to do. So
do you tell that to your students? The ones that are trying to think about if they want to pursue it professionally?
No, my students are too young still. Like, I teach Suzuki lessons, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have older Suzuki students, like they're in book 4 and stuff, but like not old enough to think about a career yet.
Right. Right now, what is your favorite recording of classical guitar? No, you know what? No, we're calling it audible. Right now, what is your favorite recording of anything to listen to?
Oh, it's probably classical guitar though. You probably could have kept the first one.
Okay, damn it.
I really like Berto Rojas's Barrios CD.
Yeah, I was just talking about that with John during our live stream. Berto Rojas, incredible player.
I know. I just love her.
There's some people that get Barrios or just get like that kind of music really well, you know. And like for me, I think I understand that music well, but it takes so much more effort for me to try to get the feel of it, whereas like something like Bach, incredibly difficult to play. To play well is really hard, but for me, I kind of get the feel of it better, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it kind of connects with you somehow inside more than, but you can enjoy it still. Like, I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Okay. And then question number 5, what is your favorite non-guitar related activity to do?
Favorite non-guitar related activity. Um, okay. Well, I guess I really like animals. So I
Yes.
have if you follow me on Instagram, you know I have pet rats.
Yeah.
And they're just like so super cute and so fun to hang out with. I mean, it's not like it's just like fun to hang out with them. Like they're like so cute.
I just like how
They
you're
do
trying to
like
justify it.
I'm trying to justify because everyone's like rats.
You're
They're
like, they're
actual rats.
cool. They have like really good sense of humor. They're really topical. They watch Seinfeld.
Well, they don't do all that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but they are like really cute. They have these really like beady eyes, and like
Yeah.
they're really soft, and they kind of sit on your shoulder,
Yeah.
and they're kind of like little like dogs. Like if you like dogs, they're kind of like that, but they're small. So
Yeah.
I like hanging out with them, and I like doing stuff with them, like building little places for them to play in, like building like little like tissue box towers, and they like go in it and do stuff. It's just fun.
What can we talk more about these towers? What are the themes? Like, do you have like little, are you like, this is Fort Lauderdale,
No, no,
this is
no.
Universal Studios, and there's like a
They're
little,
not like that creative or anything like
this
that.
is the
It's
set
just like
of Everybody Loves Raymond.
if I have like extra stuff that I'm not using, like
Yeah.
toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls that like when you're done with them, or like tissue boxes, and you like can stack them up and do like fun stuff with them, and then they like I can see them right now. They're in the tissue boxes. They kind of make them their own little thing after a while.
Do
So
they prefer Brooklyn or Pennsylvania?
their cage was bigger in Brooklyn, so maybe they do.
So they're like little hipster rats, and they
They
go
kind of
to
are.
Brooklyn
Yeah,
Brewery.
yeah. They're kind of like hipstery. Yeah. The one rat that I have, he was found outside on the street in Brooklyn.
which which probably isn't such a big deal because he probably comes from a wealthy family.
Yeah, yeah. He was just probably not.
um no, probably not. That's yeah. What are your opinions on the pizza rat?
Oh, I love Pizza Rat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love any of the rats that are in the subway. I know that it's like gross,
Oh
and
my God.
my rats are not like those ones. They're like really clean and everything. But every time I see like those rats that run around the subway tracks, I just think they're so cute.
Well,
Pizza Rat's no exception.
okay. Well, I'm glad you look. I want all sorts of opinions and thoughts on this show. So I'm glad that you have that stance. I'm good without any rats, but I'll tell you what, I too love animals. Were you or are you vegan?
I am vegan. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I've been vegan for 3 years. So.
Oh, nice. My wife and I go back and forth between vegan and vegetarian.
Okay. Nice.
So
That's nice.
typically no fish or meat. Maybe every once in a while.
Yeah.
Mostly vegetarian, and then pretty recently no dairy. But we do eat eggs from time to time. So
Yeah. Yeah. I like doing like vegan stuff too, like cooking and finding vegan restaurants in New York City is always fun. Like finding like a really good vegan pizza.
oh, okay. We went to there's a really terrible vegan restaurant, Angelica's Kitchen.
Oh, I've never been there. Don't
It's
go.
it's no, it's just like it's like so vegan where they're like, oh, do you want the grass and we don't believe in ice for the water. It's like really, it's rough. It's rough. But then there's this really good place down the street from us actually that makes like really amazing. Like it's not even like tofu, soy related stuff. They make like chicken wings, but it's out of chickpea protein, and it's like really really incredible food. So
Yeah, I
awesome.
always like to find like good vegan food that isn't like necessarily like fake burgers or something. You know, like
Exactly.
that's
There's more to food than meat, and there's more to meat alternatives than just things that are supposed to taste like meat. Because you probably would agree, the things that are supposed to taste like meat really aren't that good.
yeah, yeah. But vegetables and produce and stuff are good, so like just stick with those.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with an eggplant. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to promote? We've talked a lot about some good stuff, but anything that you want to promote, and we'll put it in the notes.
No, I think that's like everything. I mean, just the Ex Aequo stuff, my own YouTube channel, my Instagram. That's you guys can find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and stay away from people who have COVID.
Yeah, you too. Everybody should.